Hello, welcome. Thank you for joining us. I think you're going to be in for a real treat. We've got a great conversation lined up with some really fascinating and talented artists who are part of the current exhibition at the Silkpurse Art Center called What Are You Looking At? My name is Stephen Snyder. I am the Gallery and Communications Coordinator for the West Vancouver Community Arts Council, and we're thrilled to be able to present this stunning exhibition in the Silk Purse. You can see a little bit of it behind me. And as we go on throughout this conversation, you'll get to meet some of the artists and see examples of their work and hear all about their inspirations and their processes. We are coming to you, I'm coming to you live from the Silk Purse here in West Vancouver, which is on the unceded traditional territories of the Coast Salish peoples. Here, that is the Squamish Nation, the Tsleil-Waututh Nation, and the Musqueam Nation. And we're incredibly grateful to our host nations for their stewardship of these lands at time immemorial, and incredibly honored to be able to engage in and celebrate in arts and culture alongside our host nations and community members. Excellent. Hi, Stephen.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
There was some
excellent
thing with the browser locking me out from the. I just have to bring up the exposure.
Yeah, totally. I'm glad you're able to join us. This is great. For everyone watching, there's been some technical difficulties, but looks like we're all ready to go. So yes, the exhibition we're here to talk about is called What Are You Looking At? And it opened on May 1st and runs until the 26th. And it features four incredible artists, Stephen Arthur, Eva Lederer, Maliheh Vatankhah, and Zhang. And we have three of those artists with us this evening, so you're going to hear from them. If you have any questions or comments for our amazing artists, you can drop those in the chat and we will get to that throughout this conversation. So this exhibition, What Are You Looking At?, which is a fantastic title, features these very fascinating paintings and drawings. So the work on display, I think some of the connecting themes are the uses of symbolism and imagery and spontaneity and getting that inner creativity out and just kind of needing to do that. And the title, What Are You Looking At, is great because a lot of the work, as you'll be able to see, is really up for interpretation. And there are a lot of details to find, and there's a lot of meaning for us as viewers to find, and a lot of meaning that the artists have put on the canvas or the page and are asking you to look at, to experience for yourself. So without further ado, let's meet our fantastic artists. They're going to tell you a little bit about themselves. Let's start with Wan Li. Wan Li Zhang, could you please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you? Oh, Wan Li, you're muted.
Hi, everyone. My name is Wan Li Zhang. Originally, over 34 years ago, I am from China, roughly in the middle, a city called Xi'an, where I studied, had my 7 years art training in the art school there. And then after that, I was teaching in the same school for just short, two to 3 years, I think. And then I came to Canada ever since. Now I'm teaching some students in my own studio and do my drawing and painting. Yeah, my original study was printmaking. So I did wood blocks, I did lithograph mainly. But ever since I came to Canada, I started to do oil. So now I'm mainly oil, oil painting. Yeah, that's about myself. And later you can look at my work.
Awesome.
Yeah, I guess that's about myself.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Wanli, for sharing. I apologize. There may have been a little bit of an echo happening there while you were talking, but thank you for sharing your journey. And it's interesting to hear, all the different mediums and things that you've tried, and seeing what's on display here, which we're gonna get to very shortly. Next up, Ava. Ava, could you please tell us a bit about yourself? This is Eva Lederer.
My name is Eva Lederer, and originally I am from Czechoslovakia, which doesn't exist anymore because it is divided country in two. One is Czech part and the other one is Slovak. I am from the Slovak part, which is close to Vienna. It is probably only 10 or 15 kilometers from Vienna. That's where I grew up. Now, my first expression should be to thank you, Stephen, for organizing our beautiful display. And I was surprised that I was accepted because I'm not a professional artist. I was told that I am folk artist, which I was quite upset about because I am from artistic family. My father and 8 people from my family are professional artists, academically trained. So all my life, I was trying to hide my need to express myself artistically because I wasn't allowed to study art anymore. In the communist system, you are not allowed to have too many people in the same profession. You have to be in different professions. So they decided for me to study Faculty of Philosophy, and later on I become professional librarian. But over the years, I was secretly doing my paintings. I was doing ceramics and various art forms. And recently, visiting my daughter in New York, who is a professional artist and art teacher, she gave me paints and she said, Mom, try to use this paint when you are visiting me here. You can go to the garden and do some painting. So I was doing the sketches, which then I apply for this show, and I was accepted and I was so happy. So my son, coming to the opening of our show, he said to me, please, now you can go to the store and buy professional artist paints. So maybe the future is bright for me, then I can do some more paintings and I don't have to be hiding anymore that I'm not academically trained. But I love my paintings and I hope that people enjoy paintings. Thank you very much, Steve.
Thank you so much for sharing that little bit about yourself. Again, it sounds like there's been a number of journeys for everyone to get where they are.
Yes.
And next up, let's meet Stephen. Stephen Arthur, could you please tell us a bit about yourself?
Okay. Sorry for all that trouble with it. Can you hear me okay? Didn't get to check anything. Okay, great. I've been making animated art films since I was 14 years old. And I kept winning awards while I was a science student. So I did an MFA in film production at USC in Los Angeles, which was very Hollywood, and I wrote feature screenplays for 10 years. Then I returned to independent experimental animation, getting Canada Council grants and showing mostly in film festivals. The best example is a film for the National Film Board where I animated 80 paintings by Jack Shadbolt, where they interact like characters in a world made of Shadbolt's paintings. And that took 3 years full time and was 5 minutes long. So eventually I burnt out and took 10 years off from making art. I discovered intuitive painting as a kind of therapy. It quickly turned into art again. And I realized that all of my art had been created from introverted intuition, as in Carl Jung's personality types. Mine is introverted intuition with extroverted thinking. And now I can make a piece of art in 1 day instead of 3 years. And my paintings are completely spontaneous, but they usually end up looking like some kind of cinematic narrative. And being a thinking type, the result is more of a conceptual theme than a mood or a sensual surface. They mystify most viewers, but I think viewers get a message because the titles help a lot. That's it.
Thank you so much for sharing, Stephen. It's wonderful to hear about your journey and a little bit about how you do what you do.
Thank you.
I think you all have these interesting, not only styles, but methods of creating that you've kind of touched upon a little bit. And I really look forward to hearing more about it. Our fourth artist, Maliheh Vatankhah, unfortunately will not be able to join us this evening, but we'll still get to see some of her work, and we have a little statement about one of her pieces. So next, we are going to take a quick little tour of the exhibit to give those of you watching an idea of what you can expect when you come in to see it. And we're going to pull that up right now. Fantastic. So this is kind of the scene that you come into the Silk Purse off of our waterfront entrance. Gonna review how everything kind of works together, and then I guess we'll over on this wall. We start with some of Stephen's work, or tempera on paper paintings, which are very, very vibrant. Yes, I like what you were saying about. Oh, go ahead.
Me? I didn't say anything.
Oh, sorry, I thought someone was saying something.
It keeps coming to me. I don't know.
I was going to say there is a real cinematic sort of scenic quality to your work. And then here we have Maliheh's really fantastic paintings. I think there's a real diversity amongst this exhibition, amongst the four of you, but then within Maliheh's work in particular, there's even a diversity amongst the work that she's chosen to share. And then next we move on to Wan Li's fantastic ink drawings. One of the, because the exhibit's been open for a little while, we've been able to get some feedback. People are very intrigued by it. And one of the things that I've heard about the response to your work, Wan Li, everyone is just really interested in getting up close and finding all the details and seeing all the little bits and pieces that make up each piece, each artwork. And then we get to move into Eva's work, Eva's paintings. One of the interesting things about your work, Eva, is how sort of how much movement there is, how gestural and energetic all of the elements are. Yeah, so it's a really dynamic exhibition. All four of you have such distinct points of view and style. It's been pretty interesting seeing and hearing people's reaction to this exhibit. So that's just a little run through of the show. You really have to come in and see it in person to really be able to take it all in and spend time with everything and see all of the details and see all of the colors or shades or tones or lines or structures and really kind of absorb what everything's about. And you can do that until May 26th. Come on down. And just a reminder, if you have any questions or comments for artists, drop those into the chat. Next up, our artists have all chosen a work that's on display to talk about, to sort of give us all a bit more of an idea of what their process is like, where they're coming from as artists, and kind of that's a little bit emblematic of the work that's on display in this exhibition. Going to start with Maliheh's work. And I'm just going to pull that up for us now. So this is a really fantastic painting of hers, and it is called Angel of the Fire. It's an acrylic and oil combination. And a lot of her work in this exhibit is about the strength of women and the power and influence women have had throughout history. And you can see some of those historical markers behind her. You've got these really beautiful renderings of these sort of ancient sculptures that this figure is sort of coming out of, and this crown of fire coming from her face, really just sort of illuminating that fierceness, that passion, that fiery energy within herself that she just can't really keep contained and has to get out there and share with the world. Just read you. Yes, so I was going to read a little bit from Maliheh, but maybe I'll get to that a little bit later. But Maliheh is an artist originally from Iran, and she has been living here in Canada since 2019. She is from Bandar Abbas, which is in the south of Iran. She once immigrating to Canada, she's immersed herself in the local art scene. She's been an active member of the Federation Art Gallery from 2020 to 2021. She's been in various art exhibitions across the Greater Vancouver area and has even had a solo show at an art cafe here on the North Shore. And she is her vibrant compositions, brimming with jubilant hues, resonate with hope and tranquility, inviting viewers on a journey of solace and inspiration. Art for Maliheh is the essence of life itself. Those are just some of her words about her artistic journey. I'm sure she could talk a lot more about herself and her work a little bit better than I can, but hopefully those of you who are seeing this will come on down, see her work. And if you want to know more about all of our artists, there are links to their social media or websites in the description of this video. So next, let's move on to artists who are here. Who's up next? Eva, could you please tell us about this piece?
Yes, well, they call me the bird lady, and I said, for this exhibition, I cannot just do birds. I have to do something else. And then suddenly I was trying to remember all the years behind, and it was like opening my memory, and the memory was like a river coming out of my expression. And my granddaughter came to the exhibition and she said, Oma, that river is Danube. And I said, yes, it is Danube. That was the big river from our city where I grew up. So all these memories were tied to this painting. And as I mentioned before, I used the paints which my daughter gave me. And she was laughing because she has the same exhibition in New York right now. And she said that we are in competition with her, but she's doing sculpture. So I'm still doing paintings, but I do as well do ceramics, and we will have show at Shutball Center. But I usually express my paintings in ceramics as well. I use the ceramic as a form of expression. But I must say that for the paintings, I'm lucky that I can do it on my balcony. So I have some space to do some, but for larger paintings, I will have to come to larger studio. But that's what my painting is about. It is river of memories. Thank you, Steve.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing that. Love hearing, that how connected to your past this is, this idea of memories. And there's some interesting things about your work, and some of it's on display here, is this sort of, I'm going to assume, correct me if I'm wrong, but this almost anthropomorphization of some elements, right? You've got this blue figure, it seems, in the center, but are they the river? Is that you remembering? I'm just curious about that, about these sort of ghostly figures that seem to appear in your work.
It is the river of memory, and it's me. Because as I mentioned, I didn't want to mention my age, but I'm quite old. And when you get to this certain stage in your life, then you look back, because there is not so much of looking ahead, unfortunately. So when you look back, all these images are coming back to you. Like my father was professional painter, as I mentioned, and he was a professor at university. So when he was doing his art, I was sitting on his knees, and he will give me a piece of paper so I can draw some pictures to leave him alone so he can do his paintings. And most of the images which I have were the nature, because he loved the nature and all the trees and birds and animals. So that's why they are showing so much in my painting, because this kind of influence from him. And all this is memories for me. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for elaborating on that. Yes, and nature, as you said, is a huge part of your work. As we saw in that little video and in here, there's trees, there's birds, there's flowers. I love that you've grown the moniker of the bird lady, because you do a lot of birds in your artwork. It's fantastic to see that passion for nature come through in your work.
Thank you.
Excellent. Next is Stephen. Stephen, could you please tell us about this work?
Okay, the meaning of this one is not as obvious, but it shows best how I made it step by step. Before I tell you about the steps of how it developed, I want to emphasize that this was free of any pre-planned procedure. Is all of them in the show are like that, and most of my 166 paintings are not pre-planned like that. So the idea is that you just stand in front of the white paper, you ignore any emotions or thoughts, and you feel what needs to be put down. Like what has the most energy in your impulse to put something on the paper. And it could be a mark or a color or an object. or sometimes it's a whole scene that comes and kind of just do that. And you try to choose it with your body. So it's like you're planting a seed with the first image or first stroke, and you react to that and do what comes easiest. And that reaction is the seed for the next thing. And try not to interpret what's coming out. And you allow chaos to start it. And the goal is to be surprised by what comes up. And then later on, near the end of the painting, I can't help interpreting it. And then the finishing touches and the title bring out the meaning that's already there. Like I kind of see it in it. Oh, that's what it is. So this one is the Circus of Liberation. Here it's like my unconscious intuition was apparently translated into a theme of being old yet still having this youth within you, the contradictions of how it feels to be old. It arose by accident. It taught me to see and understand it experientially. So communicating with myself brought out a universal experience as a kind of motif or visual poem. On the one hand, the action that you're seeing looks strenuous. On the other hand, it's being comforted. The initial feeling that I might have had was to jump out of restrictions. So here's how it developed step by step. I first just painted the balls, those four green balls and the red plane. And it was like just some geometric thing. I had no idea what it was. And I just had this feeling then of stretching backwards over this thing. It was a kind of a feeling of freedom and release, feeling like an acrobat. That's just what I felt. And I drew this character doing that with extended arms over this thing. And then looking at it, that looked like way too strenuous. It didn't look like fun. So I gave him a support, hanging down. Now he's being supported and he can relax. And I gave him this flower sticking out above his nose there to smell. So he's in a nice, comfortable place, but he's also like this unbelievable acrobat. So, and it felt like a stage. So I then put the blue curtains on there, and then put on walls for like the back of the stage. And because it's like in the spotlight, then it prompted me to put a shadow behind him, and that sparked the designs, the bright designs that are coming up around it. And it felt like it's like a circus. So then it painted on the front these kind of heads that look like they're actually painted on the stage, like it might be in a circus. So the final step is this big red space with nothing there that felt like it really needed to have something there. And then I noticed that I had put white hair on this character, and it's like, oh, it's like he's old, and what needs to be there is a cane. And then bang, there's the meaning of it. It all just came, oh, that's what it's about. So you get this surreal symbolist thing. That's it.
Wow, that was great to hear that whole journey. I find it fascinating to not start with a plan and then just react to a shape or a color and jumping from there.
Mm-hmm.
And that seems very different. I assume from your background in film, where everything needs to be planned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although the idea for a film will come from the same kind of intuitive process. Like when I put Jack Shadwell's paintings together or whatever, like things would just emerge, and the whole thing would emerge in my mind and make this storyboard. So that might take a week, and then it would take me 3 years to make the film, to animate it. So it's like the initial intuition is at the beginning, and then the perspiration.
Yeah, and I'm curious about tempera paint. Why choose that as your medium?
It's simple and easy to use, and it's sort of conducive to this intuitive process. You have to sort of put the figures in first and then do the background around it. You can't really layer things very well like acrylics and oil. It's more direct, and it's not transparent like watercolor. So it kind of makes you have to do things in pieces and let it grow itself. It also doesn't reflect light, so you can take photos of it and post it online really easily. It doesn't reflect light like acrylic would do, and that's where people are seeing it mostly just in digital images. And the large size of the paper too. I mean, it's much less expensive to have large paper with this medium, and that really helps the getting that sort of right brain activity going with the larger, just being larger.
Yeah. That's wonderful. Thanks so much for sharing that. That all makes complete sense, right? Like that this medium works for how you work. You found the right tools. That's awesome. Next, Wan Li, could you please tell us about this fascinating work of art?
Okay, before I say anything about my work, first of all, I like to say I do like Stephen and Eva's work. Even, they're so different. And Eva's work to me is more mysterious. And I think even you're not professionally trained, but I think you have the talent, and you are bold. You are, not afraid. You're creating, right? So I think that's very important quality for artists, to be bold, to be brave. And sometimes I tell myself, I've just ruined a canvas. So what, right? Or a piece of paper, throw it away. And Stephen's work are very much like some of my work, the process that call it intuitive, I call it spontaneous. Other than these, black and white, I think when I just came to Canada, I did around 50, 60 pieces work based on, I rolled on a piece of paper with a ruler because I do printmaking before, right? So I just get the ruler and then roll on the paper very randomly. And then after that, I just look at the paper, what I should do with this piece of paper. So I came out, something, mainly image. I don't care too much about what that means. So just the shape, image. So those somehow mostly sold in Japan because it's small sized and they have small houses. I like it. Anyway, so these black and white ink drawing actually was the product of the pandemic. So I reinvented myself to teach online. So most of my students, I said, if you like, you can come online to learn with me. But I didn't teach oil online. So I encourage everybody to draw because I can't do any touch up or things, right? So every time I gave them some subject and they start to draw. And then I start to draw while I was teaching online. So they draw, I draw. So these black and white, most time I just use pen directly. And I start with one simple object. Like the other piece, I started with a dried Japanese lantern. Then I added something and until the picture is almost full. And this one, because it's during pandemic and, locked up and, particularly in some country that people are locked up, really, really locked up and quarantine, all those terrible thing and lots of people dying and including my own brother who died during the pandemic. So this one, I think during my teaching, it was usually during my teaching. So I just drew the kind of like a sunflower. And then I added a figure, just like the sunflower is a body. I guess because those kind of, feeling, a lot of sadness and then isolation and, sorrow, people dying. And so I added a figure, and then I draw another head. So this has another body, so they are overlapping. And then I just keep adding things, right? Adding houses. So I added lots of eyes with tears because it's, a sad situation at that time. So even the cloud is crying. The house window, there's a huge eyes behind that. So those are all added to emphasize the sadness. And but the basic, for me, I was teaching, just tell the student that you can use a single pen to create a lot of different shades, right? So you just add different shades. The detail it's easy because the pen is so thin, and these are not big pieces, so it's not too hard to finish up one. And so I just keep adding until I think it's enough. And so I actually have some student did a wonderful job too. And I was surprised how good they did. And they were surprised themselves. I did this. Yeah, so just keep adding stuff. So this basically afterwards become some of my thing. It's also therapeutic. I just sit there adding, images. Yeah. That's about it, I guess.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your process and the journey you went on to create these fascinating artworks. Again, much like Stephen had mentioned, you're starting with no plan, no composition.
No,
Is there
nothing.
is there at any point in your process where you kind of see what could be the final image and start to
No, actually, no. I
yeah.
didn't know. So I was just, while I was doing, I was trying to say, oh, here, I add some black or add some patterns. Yeah, the reason I choose this one is this one, at least we all went through the pandemic. We understand. The other pieces, a lot of them, I wasn't thinking even. Nothing.
This one is really very strong, extremely strong. You can see the crying eyes. Very, really emotional. Very emotional.
Thank you.
It's beautiful.
Well, thank you all for sharing those insights into those pieces, into your body of work as in general. Uh, it's just astounding to hear, how sort of similar, it might some of your processes are, or maybe some of your inspirations, or how you go about things. It's pretty fascinating because you all come from such diverse backgrounds, but you've all kind of ended up in the same spot almost with your art making. Just that need to just get something out.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm curious. I'll give viewers a little bit behind the scenes. of how some parts of the exhibitions here that the West Van Arts Council does at this will first come together. So we put out a call for artists and get lots and lots of submissions, and we have a jury, and they group artists together based upon the theme or imagery or media, and they put these 4 fantastic artists together, and then after that, we ask the artists as a way to sort of get to know each other and know each other's work to come up with a title. And the title that you all selected is "What Are You Looking At?" And I'm just curious as to who came up with it, what you all think of the title, how you think it applies to your artwork.
Oh, that was a friend of mine who came up with that title. Yeah, I just showed him the samples that you had given us, and said, what would you suggest as a title or something? And he came up with that immediately as a kind of a challenge to the audience in a sense, but also because you have to really look at these things and wonder what they're about. There's a subject in there that's not obvious, and he has a background in he has a degree in English literature. That might have something to do with it. He's also very smart. He's a lawyer, and he was a research scientist and so on.
I do like that title too, because a lot of time I heard that people tell me that I don't understand that painting. What is it?
Yeah.
You know, like, what is it? I often says, whatever you think it is.
Yeah, definitely. That's one of the amazing things about art is that it is subjective. And I think about all of the work on display from you four is very much that. There is a lot to discover. There's a lot that you can read upon yourself. Some of the things that you've said tonight, I did not see that at all in your work. I had completely different narratives. So it's really fascinating. You can create an almost a universal experience because everyone can just have their own interpretation, their own feeling, their own thoughts. And I'm also curious. It sounds like for all of you, being creative and making things has been a part of your life, even though you may have had different careers, different journeys to getting where you are today. Is that something that has been consistent in your life? I know some of you maybe weren't able to always pursue an artistic career, but is that something that you've always just kind of, even on the side, you've always had to sort of you've always had to get something creative out? And if so, is that something you see yourself continuing to do into the future?
That's one thing I think art is good is, I can do it until I die. There's no retirement. It's not I always say art is not a job. It's something you like to do. Yeah, I'm very happy when I'm doing these things. That's, I think, enjoy the process is more important.
Yeah, art is inside you. In me, I'm feeling it all the time. It is something which I cannot really stop. I'm looking at things and I get inspired. So I think you are probably born with it. And that's how it is with my case. And I enjoy art. And I love West Vancouver Silk Purse Gallery. That's the place where the art is all the time. I have to thank you, Steve, really. The beautiful place.
Thank you. Yeah, it is a pretty wonderful space. It's just having this exhibit up has been, it's only been up since May 1st, but already it's been a real joy hearing everyone's conversations about the artwork, because as we've said throughout the night, it's so diverse and it's so different. And that's one of the great things about particularly our space, because the previous exhibit was a textile art show about cherry blossoms, so it was a lot of pinks and quilts and stitching. And now we have this really completely different exhibition that is really cerebral and emotional and textural, and people can really have a real field day here with all of your fantastic work. So for everyone watching, please make sure you come on down to the Silk Purse Art Center in West Vancouver. We're in John Lawson Park. And you can see this great exhibit until May the 26th.
Yeah.
So I think that's it for this evening. It's been a fantastic conversation. I would love to thank our artists who are here with us tonight, Zhang, Eva Lederer, and Steve Arthur. And I'd also love to thank Maliheh Vatankhah for her fantastic artwork and sharing it with us as well. You've all had such really interesting things to say and some moving things as well. I really, really appreciate you sharing your time and your insights with us. It's been a real blast, a real great conversation.
Thank you, Stephen, for this
you.
wonderful evening. And whoever, if any of my friends are watching, thank you.
Yes, definitely. Thank you to everyone who is watching live and everyone who's going to watch this in the future. Your support is greatly appreciated. And as we mentioned previously, if you want to see what these artists are up to in other avenues, there are links to websites and social media in the description of this video. So you can check out and see whatever they're posting, whatever they're sharing that way. So thank you for joining us, and please make sure to come on and see What Are You Looking At the Silk Purse Art Center on until May the 26th. Until next time, we have another artist talk in about a month or so. We'll see you then. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you.
Night.